Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church. Admittedly, this is not going to be an easy Christmas for many of us. But Christmas has this uncanny knack of knocking on our door regardless how dark or unresponsive our spirit may be. Sure, we can turn our backs on Christmas. That's easy. But I want to challenge you to open your hearts to Christmas. Open your hearts to all the hope that stands against the world bent on ruthless destruction. Open your hearts wide enough for gentleness in a world that is bitter and harsh. Open your hearts wide enough for loveliness in a world that is desolate. Open your hearts wide for faith, for joy, and the song that invites the faithful to enter into the spirit of Christmas. Symbol of light and of knowledge, symbol of warmth and freedom. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope and the infinite possibilities of love. May we open our service of lessons and carols, turning our hymn books, please, to number 253.
Isn't it good to carol together? Yeah, and to have those wonderful choral, whatever they're called, overarching it all. Wow, thank you. What's that? Choir, yeah, we've got our own choir of angels here. As good as it is to sing together, it is also good and an equally valid religious discipline to make some silence together. And so we do each week as we gather, as we begin our service, we join by turning towards that which you find most holy in silence for prayer, for reflection, and for meditation. Most holy and beloved Spirit of life, we come amidst blustery weather and slippery roads, creaking bones and bodies. We come laden with worries and burdens. We come buoyed by hopes and celebrations. We come seeking to be faithful, seeking to be inspired, seeking to have our pain met by comfort, our fear met by courage, our doubt met by truth, our worry met by wisdom. We come this third Sunday in this Advent season amid woes that are local and global, and also amid victories and stories of courage. The young and the not so young among us, engaging the work of the world and the work of politics and seeking change. We come and we are reminded that this season of waiting is always waiting for us, in us. We come to be reminded that somewhere, everywhere, always, there are those looking for shelter, looking for safety, looking for a place to bring to birth that which is within them. New life, new hope, new work. We come to be reminded also that somewhere, everywhere, always, there is hope. There are hands to shelter and arms to open and gifts to offer. Even as there are eyes to close and heads to turn away and doors to shut and riches to withhold. So remind us, O life. Remind us of those to whom doors are still closed, or to whom the doors that stand ajar are inaccessible. Show us how we might use our lives to be open doors, open arms, open minds and hearts. Show us how we might better open ourselves to the larger life around us, to our neighbors, to our Tongan and Samoan neighbors, to our Republican and Green Party neighbors, to our Native and white and brown neighbors, to our Muslim and LDS and fundamentalist neighbors, to our abused and addicted and homeless neighbors, to our dying and struggling neighbors. Show us, and more than show us, ennoble us with the courage and the wisdom and the strength to be among those who see in every moment and every life, in every breath, the possibility of the birth of nothing less than God. That in our living we might make reason for angels and messengers to sing, for bells to ring, for rejoicing to peal forth, for the birth of meaning and justice and wisdom and love. These and the silent intentions of our hearts we offer in the names of all that is. Shalom, salam, amen, and blessed be.
I think one of the first lessons, which extends way back in church history, good for us to know, and that is, if the congregation is good to the choir, they will be good to the congregation. Thank you so very much, choir. You are great, just great. Oh, waiting for Christmas is always interminable for children. It feels that the greater the excitement, the longer the wait. It's a formula that's been operative from the very beginning when presents were first bestowed. But the act of anticipation and waiting doesn't ever really go away. School children can't wait for summer vacations, and neither can their teachers. Then there's the waiting to get a driver's license, as parents hope that day never comes. Waiting to hear from colleges, so on and so forth. Waiting tests our patience. waiting in a grocery line, waiting for the check to finally arrive at the restaurant. And then there's also more serious waiting, waiting for medical test results, waiting for a new job, waiting for a new love, or for a child to be born or adopted, waiting for a child to grow out of that phase. They do grow out of it, don't they? Waiting for health to return after an injury, waiting for an adult child to move out of the house or just move on. We do quite a bit of waiting during the course of our lives. Let's think about it. Waiting for the bus, waiting for the next election, waiting for your teenager to come home at night, waiting for Prince Charming, waiting for dinner, waiting for the traffic light to change, waiting for seeds to sprout, waiting for the grief to stop, waiting for Godot, waiting for the Novocaine to take effect and then to wear off, waiting for payday, waiting for the bad haircut to grow out, waiting for paint to dry, waiting for the mail, waiting for the coffee to brew, waiting for death, waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the thunderclap after lightning, waiting for your sister to get out of the bathroom, waiting for the war to end, waiting for the pot to boil, waiting for the Messiah. Today, we find ourselves smack in the middle of Advent, which may be understood as a sacred season devoted entirely to waiting. The shepherds wait in their field. The three wise men wait for the journey to finally be completed. Joseph, Mary, and Jesus wait in Egypt until it's safe to return home by another way. Advent is an entire month devoted to the sacred art of waiting. It is meant to be a time of deep reflection. We're supposed to take some moments during the most frenetic time of the season to ponder that which gets lost as we make our way to some goal or destination. We get sidetracked by all the demands, the expectations, and we need to park them somewhere a little more remote in our mind so that we can finally get to the essence of being part of a loving family. What does it mean, essentially, to have such good friends? And then ultimately, to the message of Christmas itself. Waiting, if looked upon as sacred opportunity, can teach us much about ourselves and the world. Is there not a tension between the sweetness of anticipation and the sacrament of waiting? When we hope and dream, our focus is on the future. We are living for the not yet. And at the same time, waiting calls for us to be present to the uncertainty of now. It's a lot like the old cartoon of two guys wearing sandwich boards in a busy downtown intersection. And one says, "Jesus is coming." And the other board says, "Buddha here now." This dual reality was captured magnificently in the old Heinz ketchup commercial, where a child tilts the bottle and waits for the sauce to slowly ooze out as Carly Simon sings about anticipation in the background. We know how good that ketchup is going to taste once it finally dresses the hamburger. And yet we must be patient and wait for its excruciatingly slow arrival. Its very goodness is what makes it so slow in coming. Our hopes and dreams are wrapped up in the process of becoming. Our lives as they are precious and powerful and must always be present. We must always be present to them in the here and now. Jesus is coming. Buddha here now. Both are true.
Never tell them no. That was the first lesson we learned as teaching assistants back in the laboratory preschool at South Dakota State University. Kids hear no all the time, we were told. What they really need to hear is not what you don't want from them, but what you do want. Now, I'm sure I'm going to hear that this sort of permissiveness and pampering is part of the problem with our educational system nowadays. Talk to me after the service. But for now, hear me out. Getting trained to work with 3- and 5-year-olds, other people's 3- and 5-year-olds, we were asked to challenge ourselves to practice redirecting. How to harness the energy of toddlers in a way that would engage them creatively and productively and proactively. It's not as easy as you might think. Well, some of you probably already know this. It was surprising how quickly no became a noticeably prevalent word in my vocabulary. It's like when you start a diet, whether of words or of foods, and then you realize just how present the banned substance is everywhere. There were lots of failures, there were lots of stumbles and fumbles, but there was one shining moment of victory that lives on in my memory. And it recalls me to the power of this practice. His name was Jameson. He was a solid tank of a little boy. Tall for his age, tallest in the class, I think, with sparkling blue eyes and white, blonde, curly hair. He was a quiet giant in his class, and he often seemed a protector, and he was also quite headstrong. A natural leader, even in preschool. Whatever he did, the other 20 kids, if they saw him, they were sure to follow him. So you can imagine why redirecting Jameson would be even more important. One day, we were out taking a stroll around the college campus, the grounds that surrounded our laboratory preschool. And Jameson, for some reason, perhaps caught by the beauty of the day, or whatever reason, would inspire one to run with delight among trees and sunlight and grass and wind. For whatever reason, he decided to do just that. Run. And not run in circles around us, staying with the group. No. He ran straight away from the group at top speed. Now, each of us teachers and assistants was assigned to a particular group of children that we were to have primary responsibility for. And when we went out on this walk, Jameson was in mine. As he took off with this surprising speed, I shouted after him, "Jameson! Jameson!" He may have actually only made it 30 or 45 feet, but it seemed like a football field to me. A young 20-something who was being evaluated for his capacity to redirect this little toddler. Jameson finally stopped and spun around wildly and looked at me, and I could see the twinkle in his eye even from that distance. It was as visible as the glee flowing through his body, like an electric energy sparking out brightly, illuminating the world around him along with his halo of wild curls. "Jameson, you're so fast! Can you run back to me as fast as you ran there?" I had no idea where that came from. There was a moment's hesitation, and then run back he did. Flailing arms, little tank of a body, giggles and curls and laughter and shrieks. Thank goodness he hadn't figured out our game. And thank goodness he hadn't yet begun to explore the fine art of playing with power and limits and resistance. It was a lesson in lessons for me. We were teaching each other. We were learning together. And I wonder nowadays what would happen if I applied that lesson to life now. If instead of resisting, instead of saying, "No, don't, stop," I could find a way, even in protest, to be more yielding and playful and curious. To see it all as learning together. And to be more open to the possibility and the power of redirecting and of being redirected. As we approach these wintry holidays, I wonder what lessons life might be offering us, and how we might, like Jameson, fill the world with our electric energy and careen into life's arms as it calls to us.
I want to thank Matthew for finally letting the cat out of the bag. It seems like for the last year and a half, I understand now that he's been redirecting me. And he's good. He's good. I didn't even know it until this moment.
No, stop!
Couple of quick announcements related to the season. One is if you have picked up from the Giving Tree a list of some Christmas presents for the families in San Esteban, please have them nicely wrapped back to us by next Sunday, the latest. Also want to make sure to catch your attention that the choir busily engaged in fundraising endeavors. Not only will have the solar lights, and if you ordered some last week, they are in now. Pick them up. We can also the choir has made some soup, and it is incredible soup that will actually sing to you as you eat it. So you have some options. You can get a bowl if you wish of $5, or order a soup for next week to be picked up at $10. And if you want a sample.
It was so delicious. Everybody ate it.
There are no samples?
There are no bowls.
We got to do this on faith? Okay. Okay. So we'll just use our imagination. And and if you have faith that these choir members can make wonderful soup, you can still order them for next Sunday. I feel like I just stepped in some soup, you know? Also, tickets are available for Solstice, which will be, of course, on the 21st, a wonderful dinner and service. The offering will now gratefully be received, a chance to greet one another and wish each other a happy season. On Christmas Eve in 1968, as the three astronauts of Apollo 8 were sailing around the moon, they sent a message home. With the world watching on live television, they took turns reading the creation story from Genesis and then signed off. Good night, good luck, a Merry Christmas, said Colonel Frank Borman. And God bless all of you on the good earth. That year of 1968 was, in fact, a terrible year. The United States was torn by assassinations, great violence in our cities, and, of course, the war in Vietnam. And then came the astronauts' words of solace and the stunning photograph they took that day of the planet rising, white and blue, over the ashen moon, so lustrous and lovely, and from a distance anyway, serene. Apollo 8 helped end the year on a note of hope and grace. Humanity being what it is, the world today remains a place of suffering and injustice. Refugees from the Middle East are being barred from nations with resources to serve them. Unarmed African Americans are shot dead with impunity. Identity politics, they call it now. Identity politics has divided our nation more deeply than ever. And this last presidential election demonstrated a disgraceful disrespect towards women, people of color, and the environment. The new cabinet selections thus far portend a vicious evisceration of any progress made these past few decades in human rights and earth justice. This holiday season, in which our hopes rely on just a speck of light to pierce the darkness, has met a new worldview that insists that darkness is good. We have become, at least momentarily, unmoored from our faith in the light of human goodness. The president-elect's chief strategist, Steve Bannon, operates under the heading that darkness is good. That's what he said. He said, darkness is good. And he went on, Dick Cheney, Darth Vader, Satan, that's power. It only helps us when they, liberal media, get it wrong, when they are blind to who we are and what we are doing. So we find ourselves in a strange time where our new leaders are determined to preclude light from our vista, as though dousing the flame of hope with a bucket of icy water. Bannon uses metaphors from history. Dick Cheney, who said that America would have to spend time in the shadow and work on the dark side. As darkness serves as well in eliminating oversight, that's power, sealing off the light of day. Bannon uses metaphors from science fiction. Darth Vader, who used to be an heroic Jedi Knight, was seduced by the dark side of the Force. That dark side is power. And he uses the metaphor of religion. Satan, a fallen angel, seduces humanity into the ways of falsehood and sin. Under the cover of darkness, evil wields its power. The cry for light is deafening this Christmas. The light of hope, the light of resistance, the light of clarity, the light of courage, the light of truth, the light of human goodness. If we let go of our fears for a moment this Christmas and swivel the mind away from the worst of this fading year, we can begin to hear the relentless sound of hope. We must finally begin to recognize that the struggle for immigrant safety and well-being can only continue through us, and that we will confront the insufferable inequality of wealth. We have to believe that we will pierce the darkness. In neighborhoods long scarred by discrimination and police brutality, we shall shine a light. In the growing number of sanctuary cities resisting the xenophobic tide, the light shines brightly already, and we are the keepers of that light. And same-sex couples will continue to keep their right to marry and receive equal treatment under the law. That light will never be extinguished, and we will see to that. Evil may be everywhere, and anger and hatred are loud. The shouting drowns out the quiet. Tragedy and despair block the view of good. And yet, there are always signs of progress towards a better future. When we tune out the rancor, we find reasons to believe again, to believe in the persistence of better values. Yes, we believe in humility, reconciliation, kindness, dignity, reason. Even in a grim year, there are moments of grace. They come to us unexpectedly. They come to us because we will never allow darkness to become our way of life. We need to remember it was a grim year when a baby was born into poverty some 2,000 years ago. But he came to symbolize a moment of grace that lifts us from despair, even today. He spoke of the promise of peace for which we still yearn. He spoke the promise of inclusion among all people for which we still yearn. He spoke the promise of a just world for which we still yearn. But he gave us the words and the promise and the hope. He made it crystal clear that this revolution sprung from hope must begin inside of us. That's where it is. And all through history, women and men have looked to the heavens to guide them. Perhaps a star or a cluster of stars will help us find this grace. Perhaps a photo of Earthrise, so lustrous and lovely and serene, will remind us that this earth has no borders. And perhaps on a beautiful winter's night, as we gaze up towards the heavens, we will see and feel and believe in the interconnected web of all existence of which we are such a small part. Hope comes to us as grace. Undeserved, but the lifeblood of our existence. the light is never extinguished. There are always signs of progress towards a better future. There are moments of grace in every grim year. Just look. Look about. Look. Or you may miss it. Can we conclude our service turning our hymn books, please, to number 225? As we extinguish the chalice, but not the light in our hearts, may we be confident that light always returns to pierce the darkness. And may we remember that newborns will always serve as our hope, and that miracles abound in common things. So rejoice. Join in the gladness of Christmas. Amen.